Well, a very big hello to you, my friends, and welcome back to the sewing room, and welcome to the very first tutorial in my house block quilt along. It's been a long time coming, but I am so excited to get this series started, and I hope that you're going to join along with us. So the very first block that we will be making is this one here. This one is called the Original Homestead, named for the classic type design that it is. It's a very sort of stereotypical house in patchwork and quilting, and I just love it. It is such a sweet little block to make, and I really hope that you enjoy making it too. Of all of the 9 blocks that we will be making in this series, they will all measure 12.5 inches finished, and then 12 inches once they're all sewn into the quilt. A couple of tips that I'm going to give you before we start. This one, like pretty much all of the blocks, we will be starting from the door and working our way out. So you'll see in the tutorial that I concentrate on this section here first and then sort of build our way out. So hopefully that will kind of give you a little bit of orientation of how the block comes together. The other tip that I want to give you is when you download the pattern, check out the page that has the block like this with all of the measurements in it. The pattern is in color, but we didn't have any color in our printer. So mine's black and white, but this page has all of the measurements for each section, so you won't get confused. There's also a page that has all of the measurements listed out for you as well. So use this as a guide to know where each piece goes. So as I just mentioned, you will find the link to the pattern in the first line of the description box. That link will take you over to my blog, and you can then download the pattern and print it out for free. And this time around, I've also included a really fun coloring page. This will help you to decide what colors you want to do, how the block's going to look like when it's finished. It just gives you a little bit more space and opportunity to be creative and just double check that the fabrics that you've pulled will go together well in your block. Right, now that we have all of the admin out of the way, let's get into how we make the lovely Original Homestead house block. To begin, cut out all of the pieces for this block following the cutting and measurement instructions in the free pattern linked below. Lay out the door section, 2 longer house pieces, the first roof section, and the 2 smallest house squares. Pop the door and long house pieces to one side, and then mark a diagonal line along each of the 2 smaller squares. Place one of these squares on top of the roof rectangle, evenly lining up the edges and pinning it into place. At the sewing machine, carefully stitch along the marked line. Cut off the excess corner, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then gently press the triangle open with a steamy iron. Repeat the same steps to sew on the other small square to the roof rectangle, creating a mini flying geese unit. Place this unit along the top edge of the door piece. Flip it over and pin it evenly into place. Stitch the pieces together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then press the seam towards the door section. Place each of the longer house pieces along either side of the door. Turn each one over and pin them evenly into place. Sew a 1/4 inch seam down the length of each section, and then press them open with the iron. Next, lay out a window section and the 3 house pieces that will be sewn around it. Turn over each of the side rectangles one at a time and pin them evenly into place. Take them over to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam along each of these sides. Then gently press the seams open towards each of the house sections. Flip the bottom house rectangle onto the stitched window unit. Pin the pieces together and then sew into place. Take it to the ironing board and press the seam outwards away from the window center. After making the second window unit in the same way, place each of them on either side of the door unit. Flip over one of the window units and evenly pin it onto one side of the door unit. Stitch the 2 sections together and then press the seam inwards towards the center of this section. Turn over the remaining window unit, pin the edges, and then sew the pieces together. press the seam inwards towards the center like last time. Next, lay out the largest house piece along the top edge of the sewn door and window section. Turn the piece over and evenly pin together. Stitch into place, still using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then gently press the seam upwards away from the door and window section. Place this half of the block to one side. Moving on, lay out the large roof piece and the 2 larger sky squares. Mark a diagonal line on the back of each square and then place each one on either end of the roof piece. Pin each square evenly into place. At the sewing machine, carefully sew along the top of the marked lines, removing the pins as you go. Trim off the excess corners, leaving a 1/4 inch seam behind. Then press each of the seams outwards. Next, place the remaining roof and sky pieces in this alternating layout. Take the pieces in this order to the sewing machine, and then stitch them together one after the other. At the ironing board, press the 4 seams inwards towards the chimney-like sections. Finally, line up this top strip with the previous roof section. Flip it over and pin the edges together, making sure to match up the roof pitch with the outer sides of the chimneys as best as possible. Sew along the pinned edge with a 1/4 inch seam, taking the pins out as you go and ensuring seams are flat as you stitch over them. And then gently press the seam inwards towards the larger roof section. Lastly, lay out the top and bottom sections of the block together. Turn the top section over, line the edges together and pin into place. Sew one last 1/4 inch seam and then press inwards towards the center of the block. Using a set square ruler, trim the edges of the block so that it measures 12.5 inches square. So don't forget to share your blocks with me over on Instagram using the hashtag Amanda's Houseblock QAL, and also tag me at 3 3/4, and I will definitely see the things that you make. I think it's a really great idea to join in on the hashtag so that everyone can see the blocks that you're making, and it just brings a really nice, lovely community vibe to the quilt-along that we're doing together. Now, I will do my best to bring out each block to you as soon as I can. The patterns for each of the blocks will be published at the same time as the block comes out, and the patterns will always be published on my blog, and you will find the link to my blog in the description box below as well. And lastly, if you have any questions you would like to ask me, then comment down below. You never know, there might be someone else who's watching that might have the same question as well, and you might just be able to help each other out, which I think is a really lovely thought. So I hope you all enjoy making the lovely original Homestead block, and I can't wait to share with you the next block in the Quilt-Along. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all again sometime very, very soon. Bye bye.